Hey guys, what's going on? It's Scott from my DIY channel Tech Edition. Today we're going to talk about the DJI Osmo Action tips and tricks. I got 10 tips and tricks for you, and then I got bonus tips and tricks after that. Just minor little ones that I want to kind of throw in there. Number one, I'm going to ask you to experiment with the settings. Very important. When I first got the camera, I looked at 1080p, 2.7K, 4K, and I looked at HDR mode with different frames per second. So it was 7 different samplings I took of video to actually help me see what I really liked and what worked for me in different circumstances. And the one thing I did when I did take the video, I would actually out loud say 1080p 30, rock steady on, 1080p 30, rock steady on. Now the reason I would say that out loud is so when I play back later, I could actually know what I just shot. And if I see something I like, all I have to do is write it down. And then I could put it into the camera and I say, this is one of my favorites. I'm going to mark it as one of my custom settings. And the reason I would pan it from left to right is actually see what it looks like. You know, because it looks different at 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second. There's a visible difference. And I really want you to see that difference. So that's my tip and trick for you on shooting modes. I really want you to check that out. Number two, look into the right accessories for you. I actually made 2 videos on that. One for the beginner, and it's called Essential Accessories, and then one for the intermediate called Next Step Accessories. Feel free to check them out and let us know what you think. Number 3, adjusting your quick switch settings to your advantage. So you have 5 custom settings, okay? And that's great. But you also have 10 preset settings that you could add to your quick switch for a total of 15 quick switch settings, just to let you know. So the 5 very popular ones that a lot of people have, I'm not saying everybody has them, it's personal preference. Number 1 is your 1080p 30 with rock steady on. If you have a 256 card, you get 16 hours of video time with that. Number 2 is 1080p 60 for faster action videos. With the same card, you get 7 hours of video time because you're doubling the number of frames per second. So that would be my second choice. The third choice is photo mode. You always want to take a quick photo when you want to. And the fourth one, I actually have HDR, my fourth one, because HDR is really nice. The only bad part about it is there's no rock steady available. It kills me. But the colors are very vibrant on HDR, and it does only go up to 30 frames per second as well. Time-lapse is always pretty cool to have. You can make that number 5. I'm actually going to make a video on time-lapse photography and hyperlapse and the difference between the two, because I got a couple of questions on that. But I just wanted to touch really quick on the quick switch settings. So number 4 is about setting your snapshot setting. Okay, snapshot is basically really simple. It's basically when the camera's off and you want to press the shutter, it'll come on to the specific shoot mode, photo mode, time-lapse mode, slow-mo, whatever you actually program it to. And you only get to choose one. So if the camera is off, like right now I have mine set at 1080p 60. It's probably like in about 3 to 4 seconds where it starts to shoot your video. And if you're on the road or something and you see something that you want to capture, if you just press the shutter button, boom, it's like 1080p 60 right away. I personally have 1080p 60 just as a rule of thumb, because you never know when you're going to run into an action video. For number 5, I definitely recommend you go into your settings menu and turn grid lines on. This will give you a better level result in all shooting modes. This also helps prevent reshooting a scene because it's crooked, and we don't want that. We want everything level. Number 6, in your settings menu also, I'd like you to select front LED off only. And the reason I'm saying that as a recommendation, that will help you. If you have it on and you're filming into a reflective background, you can see the red light flashing on and off. And you really don't want that in the video. Having the LED flash on the top of the camera is a good visual confirmation to confirm your live recording. Number 7, we're going to go over screen switch options. Now, for me, I don't mind tapping the back of the camera twice and it switches the screen. You could have it that way. There's actually 3 ways. You can have it the tap method. The second method is holding the quick switch button on the side and it will actually switch screens. The third method is turning on your voice commands and saying screen switch. So all 3 of those methods work. And as a note, there's another option for your screen if you go into the main menu and it says full front screen on or full front screen off. I like full front screen off because it actually shows the full frame. But that's me. Again, it's a personal preference, but I just want to add that as a side note. Okay, so number 8, I want you to take the time and learn what video shooting modes support Rocksteady. Very simple. You don't want to choose a mode and then all of a sudden you have a jumpy video in your result. There is a rule of thumb that I want to share with you, but it does have some fine print. All right, the rule of thumb is this. Anything over 60 frames per second or HDR video do not support Rocksteady. Simple. With the exception of 4K 4.3, and you'll see it as a selection in your resolution, or 720p. Both of those do not support Rocksteady. So remember the rule of thumb. Anything over 60 frames per second and HDR video, and remember the fine print we talked about earlier. We really don't use those two, so I didn't think it really related to the rule of thumb. Number 9 is actually a shooting tip I want to share with you guys. It's pretty cool. It's a nice effect. If your subject is standing and there's a beautiful landscape behind them, such as an ocean or mountains or trees or a lake, you can start shooting from their left or right side and walk around them in the front of them in 180 degrees. It actually shows you a panoramic of the background, which is really beautiful, and it's a nice tip for a nice shot. I'll have more shooting tips in an upcoming video, but I really wanted to share at least one of those with you. And finally, number 10, have a backup for your spare battery. What do I mean by that? I'll show you what I mean by that. I got 2 ideas for you. One, this is a power stick, okay? It's actually a vlogging stick, and you put the camera on top, but it's also, see those right there? This is actually a battery in here. And what I do if I run out of battery power is actually take the USB-C plug here, put it right into the camera, and it's good for up to 2 charges. Because the last thing that you want is to run out of power when you're in the middle somewhere and you don't have any electricity to power your stuff up. So it's always good to have backup. There is one other thing. If you already have like one of these and it's not powered, you could always have an external battery charger. And I have one of those right here. Let me show you this one. This is pretty cool. I used to have this for my laptop when I was on the train, and my power was getting really low. But it's by Ubao, and it's got a 20,000 number on there. This is really good. The really nice thing about this is even if you don't use it for like 2 months, you press this button here. I don't know if you can see that. It's 100. Now I haven't touched this in about 2 months, and it's still at 100%. That's pretty cool. And it has the plugs that you can put in there. You have your USBs, you got your USB-C, and one other one. It's really good to have an external because you never know when you're gonna run out. So I actually have too much backup power, but it's good for demonstration purposes. So you either get this or you have this. Okay, next up I have bonus tips and tricks, and I'm gonna go over them real quick with you. Okay, one lesson I learned was when I opened my USB-C door and I was like playing with it when I first got the camera, a little piece of plastic broke off and fell on the ground. I was like, what is this? And it was very minute. However, I had to buy another USB-C door. So I think I went to B&H Camera in New York, and they actually had one. This isn't a $5 part, however. It's not a $10 part, however. And it's not a $15 part. It was $20 for this little piece of plastic. So that was my lesson learned I wanted to share with you guys. Be careful with your door, because if you gotta buy another one, especially if it's an OEM factory door, it's gonna cost you. That's a $20 lesson. Another bonus tip I have for you guys is the cage that came with the Osmo Action is right here. Now, the design is very well built. However, the top piece here covers the microphone a little bit, and the second microphone is right here above the speaker. And it's just not something you want to do. You want to have both microphones available to capture the sound that you want. Also, this right here, you can't take off the door or put back on the door or have access to the door unless you take the camera out of the cage. And with the PGY Tech cage, I don't have that problem at all. I mean, obviously, it's got the space, it's got the room, it's got the accessibility, and it's a great cage. You can mount a microphone on it, an LED light on it, and it's just an extra tip and trick that I bought that I'm very happy with. Okay guys, that's it for today's DJI Osmo Action. tips and tricks. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care.